Hey everybody, welcome to lesson 7D, solving problems involving right triangles. So yes, we will be using SOHCAHTOA once again. So sine of theta equals opposite over hypotenuse, so you should have this drilled in your head by now. Cos of theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, SOH, TOA, tan of theta should equal to opposite over adjacent. Okay? So I'm not going to go through one of these questions because that's what the last worksheet was about, and there was a lot of those questions. So, actually I might address one of these. Actually, no, it should be okay. Alright, now, the one I do want to address is finding the missing angles. Okay? So to find the missing angles, we are still using the same thing. We are still using SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. Okay? Now, however, the difference is that we are not given the angle. Okay? So we are asked to find this angle, but the steps are the same. So if this is 90 degrees, we're going to look to the opposite of that. So directly opposite of that, that would be our hypotenuse, the longest side, right? And then this is the angle we're concerned with, which means this is our opposite side, and whatever is left must be our adjacent. So we need to first determine whether we're using sine, cos, or tan. Now, again, we need to look at this and think, whoa, what two sides have numbers that I can use? Well, I have this side, there's a 12, and there's a 13 there. So A and H. So it looks like I'll be using cos in this case. So cos of, however, our job is to find the angle, so I don't have an angle, so I'm going to use theta, which represents my unknown angle. Okay? So cos of theta would be equal to, sorry, I just need to erase that. I put that in a bad spot. Should have put it above it. So cos of theta would equal to adjacent. So adjacent would be my 12, my A, 12, over my hypotenuse, which is my 13. Okay? Which means cos of theta is equal to that. Now, how do I find this angle? Well, we'll be using a special function that's called the cos inverse. So what we're doing is finding the cos inverse of cos theta. Okay? Now, of course, what we do to one side, we must do to the other, which means we're going to do cos inverse, a little negative 1 on top, of 12 over 13. So sorry, I should make this the correct blue. 12 over 13. Okay? What? Well, essentially all this is cos inverse will cancel out my cos. Okay? Which means, by canceling them out, what happens? Well, by canceling this out, I'm just left with theta equals to whatever this is. Whatever this is. Okay? Now, what is that? If you go to your calculator, you should find a little button that looks like this. Okay? In most calculators, you might have to press Shift and then cos, because you will see a little cosine on top. Okay? And right now, the calculator I'm using, you can see that I have a separate function for it. But most calculators, you will have to hit Shift. And most of the time, you will see, so let me just draw a little picture here for you. On your calculator, for example, you might see pretend that is your cos button. And at the very top, you might see a cos negative 1. Okay? That is the button you want. But in order to hit that, you might have to hit Shift and then that button. Okay? Shift, and the colors usually match. So for example, if I want this little icon on top of my button on my calculator, I will need to hit Shift, cos, and then this will show up. Okay? Once you figure that out, all I need to do is type it in. So it's cos inverse 12 over 13. So cos inverse of, 12 over 13. And I'm done. And it will give me an answer, 22.61, or 62. So theta equals to 22.62 degrees. Done. Okay. Let's do another question. Let's try this one. So here is my angle, okay, which means directly across from it would be my opposite. And now where's my 90-degree angle? There it is, which means this is my hypotenuse, which means this is my adjacent. Now, which two sides have numbers on them? Well, H and A. Oh, so it looks like it's cos again. So I'm going to have cos of theta is equal to, now SOHCAHTOA, so let me scroll back up. What is cos again? Cos is A over H. So cos of theta is A, which is my 6, over H, which is my 9. Okay? Now, I'm going to have to, I need to find the angle, right? Which means I need to find the inverse on both sides. Okay, cos inverse, cos inverse. Cos of theta, because what you do to one side, you must do to the other. 6 over 9. Okay. That's annoying. Okay. Let me just highlight this in darker blue. 6 over 9. Okay. Now, what happens then? Well then, the cos inverse will cancel out with the cos, which means our theta would just equal to whatever this answer is. And I could just type that right into my calculator. Cos inverse of 6 over 9. And that will give me 48.19 degrees. 48.19 degrees. Okay. Now, make sure your calculator is in degrees. This is a lot easier to show in class. Hold on, let me try looking for Casio calculator. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, so here's a calculator. Okay, so just to look here, here's the cosine, here's the cos inverse right above it. Okay, now make sure it's in degrees. Up here, depending on your calculator, it might say DEG, RAD, DEG for degree, RAD for radians, which you don't need to know for now, and GRAD for gradient. Make sure it says either degree or it says has the letter D for degree. If it's any other letter, you're not going to get the correct answers. All they are different ways of measuring angles. Okay? So if it is not in the correct one, you might have to hit mode and look through there to try to change it to degrees. Okay? If you have any issues, please post on the math forum or the math questions, and I'll help you navigate that the best I could. Okay? Anyways, I'll do one more of these angle questions for you before I dive into the word problems. And there's quite a few word problems here, but they're all the exact same. So let's try this one before I do the word problems. All the same thing. Here's my angle. This is my opposite. Here's my 90 degrees. That's my hypotenuse, which means this side must be adjacent. Okay? Now, which two sides have numbers on them? This side and this side. Ah, another cos. I was hoping this wouldn't be a cos one. Okay, you can finish this off on your own. I'm gonna do this one. This one's definitely not cos. Here's an angle, opposite of that, that's my opposite. 90 degrees, which means this is my hypotenuse, and that means this is my A. Okay? Now, looking at this, I see two numbers, so there's a 14 and there's a 7.7. So I need O and A. So sine, cos are 10. Which one has O and A? O and A? 10 does. Okay, so 10, O and A. So let's go. So 10 of theta, which is the angle we don't know, equals opposite 7.7 over adjacent. Okay, again, we need to find the angle. So we're going to find, obviously not the cos inverse, but rather the tan inverse. And you'll find that in the same spot, just maybe above tan on your calculator. So tan of theta will equal to, and I need to inverse this side as well. Okay, so then this would be 7.7 over 14. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know why this is so finicky. This should be, the reason I have it color coded this way so you can see that I'm doing it to both sides. Okay, now that means that will cancel out with that. Okay, and that leaves me with theta equals to whatever this gives me. So let's find out. What does it give us? So let's delete all that, and tan of theta will equal to 7.7 over, what was it again? 14. Oops. 14. And my answer is 28.8 degrees. Theta equals 28.8 degrees. Okay? Well, I hope I put degrees in my other answers. I did. Okay. Oh, I did not here. These are all angles. Don't forget. Okay. Now, the word problems. So the beauty of these videos is you obviously don't have to sit through it. If you understood it, you can fast forward it and yada yada. Don't you wish you could do that in class? Anyways. Okay, so if your distance from the foot of the tower, so I'm assuming this is going to be you, okay, is 20 meters, and the angle of elevation is 40 degrees, find the height of the tower. Angle of elevation, what does that mean? Well, all that means is this. If this is you, okay, and you are looking straight ahead, and if you tilt your head up and you elevate your head, this angle in here is called our angle of elevation. Now, what happens when you are depressed or when you are sad? When you're sad and depressed, you look down. So pretend this is your head, you look down, you look downwards. So what do you think this angle is called? Why did I use the word depression? Because this is mathematicians are very creative. These are called angles of depression when you look down. Okay? So, in this case, we've got you looking up at a tower. Your angle of elevation is 40 degrees. Your job is to find the height of the tower. Okay? Height of this tower. Now, I wish we were in class right now because I have a cool activity where we can design our own inclinometers, where we can actually estimate and accurately measure the heights of tall objects around the school. But that's okay. Maybe next year. So, we need to find the height. We do the exact same steps. Here's the angle. I look across. That is my opposite side, which is what we need to find anyway, right? This is what we need to find, our height. Our height. And this is my 90-degree angle, which means this is my hypotenuse, which means this is my adjacent. Now, I'm going to do the same thing and ask myself, which side do I have, or which side am I looking for? Well, I'm obviously looking for this side, the opposite side, and I have the adjacent side, and I have an angle. So which one has O and A? So SOHCAHTOA, I'm just going to write that at the top. SOHCAHTOA. Which one is O and A? Tan. So I'm going to say it's tan of 40 degrees equals opposite, which is going to be my height, opposite height over 20. Okay? So now what is tan of 40? Tan of 40 is 0.839. 0.839 is equal to, I'm going to use h for height. Actually, I might just write out height just in case you get confused with hypotenuse. Divided by 20. Now I multiply both sides by 20. So 20 times 0.839 equals the height. And then height equals whatever 20 times 0.839, 16.78. And this question is done. Therefore, the height is 16.78 meters. Okay? Now, you notice how I've been solving these, and that's what I did in the last video too. As you get better and better at this, and you understand that tan 40 cos 30 cosine and tan of some angle gives you a numerical value, then I would suggest, to make things easier, just leaving it and not solving it to the last step. And I'll show you what I mean by the next question. Okay. The angle of depression from the top of the castle to the boat. So top of the castle. Labeling these can be tricky. It's all about perspective, okay? It's all about perspective. So the angle of depression from the top of the castle, So you are going to assume you are on top of this castle. And you are looking straight ahead, okay? Straight ahead. You're looking straight ahead. So the angle of depression, so you look straight ahead, you're tilting your head down. This is your angle of depression, 25 degrees. The angle of depression from the top of the castle to the boat, because you're looking down towards the boat, is 25 degrees. If the boat is 50 meters from the base of the bluffs, okay, so this is 50 meters, and we're also going to assume this is 90 degrees, how high are the bluffs? Oh, this is supposed to say castle. I'm sorry, I will change this. This is supposed to say castle. Castle, castle. Okay, I'll change this. Don't worry. So, how high are the castles? So our job is to find this height. Okay. Maybe I'll use red so it stands up better. Our job is to find this height. Let's let this be represented with an X. Now, do we have an angle in the triangle? We don't. But I do know that the angle of depression here is 25 degrees. And if you look at the Z pattern, again from grade 9, you know that in here it would also be 25 degrees. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and label the sides. So here's my 90 degree angle, which means directly across from that will be my hypotenuse. Okay? Here's the angle I'm working with, which means this is my opposite side. Okay? Now, that means whatever's left must be my adjacent. Okay? Now, what side am I trying to find? This side? What side do I have to work with? This side. So my adjacent side. So the angle I'm working with here is cos of 25 is equal to adjacent, which is 50, over... Oh, it's not cos, I lied. So, ka, toa. So I need the side, or sorry, not the side, but the ratio that uses opposite and adjacent, O and A, which means this should be a 10. Okay? So, which means this whole thing is wrong. I'm just going to do that. So I have 10 of 25 is equal to opposite, which is X, over adjacent, which is 50. Okay? So if I multiply both sides by 50, I would get 50 times 10 of 25. So this is what I mean by not solving for tan 25 just yet. Equals X. Okay? Now, to solve for X, I just simply type all that in one shot. And your calculators will be able to handle that. So what was it, tan of 50, I think? Tan of 25 times 50. 50 times tan of 25 is equal to 23.32. So 23.32 X. So therefore, the height is 23.32 meters? Yep, meters. There we go. Okay, a lot of these questions are very similar. Now I'm just going to quickly scroll through these to see if there is a question that might pose issues just because of the wording. This one. A weather balloon is attached to a 500-meter rope and is anchored to the ground. So, here is the anchor, and the weather balloon is attached to a 500-meter rope So we assume the length of that is 500 meters. And here's the balloon. You are 100 meters from the spot directly underneath the balloon. You are 100 meters directly from the spot. So you are 100 meters from the spot directly underneath the balloon. So this is the spot underneath the balloon, and you are 100 meters from it. 100 meters. Calculate the angle of elevation. So that's you staring at the balloon. In fact, I'm going to do this to kind of distinguish. Here's the balloon with a rope. Okay, here's the balloon with a rope. That's you. You are 100 meters from directly underneath it. Okay, now we just label the sides. Here's 90 degrees, opposite of that. That makes this the hypotenuse. This is you. Now it's asking us to calculate the angle of elevation, which means you are there. This is the angle it's asking for. Okay, so this is the angle we're asking for. We need to find theta. So if we need to find theta, then relative to this angle, this would be my opposite side. And this must be my adjacent. And the rest is the same. So which two uses, let's go orange, which two uses A and H? SOHCAHTOA, so SOHCAHTOA, cos. So that means we need cos of our angle is equal to A, which is 100, over H, which is 500, and then we can do the whole cos inverse thing. So cos inverse, cos inverse, okay, cos inverse, let me switch back to orange, equals, so cos inverse, I do cos inverse both sides, okay, which means these two will cancel out, okay, and then my answer will just be whatever cos inverse of 100 over 500. So let's type it in. So cos inverse of 100 divided by 500. That gives me 78.46. 78.46 degrees. Okay, so therefore, the angle of elevation is 78.46 degrees. Okay, there we go. Let's see if there's any other ones. Okay, this one might be a little bit tricky to draw, so I'll just draw it for you, but you should be able to solve it. Tammy, whose eyes are 5 feet off the ground. Okay, so here's Tammy. 5. A lot of the questions, when we look at angle of elevation and depression, if they don't specify how tall the person is, you can assume it's 0. It makes very little sense in the context, I know, but if you're trying to find the height of a tower, your height is insignificant, okay? So in this case, Tammy, whose eyes are 5 feet off the ground, is standing 50 feet away from the base of a building. So 50 feet away from the base of a building. So here's a building, okay? From the base of a building. And she looks up at an angle of 73 degrees to the point on the edge of the building's roof, which means that is to the roof, 73 degrees. To the nearest foot, how tall is the building? So all I need to do is, again, there's the triangle, find the length of this side using SOHCAHTOA, knowing that this side is 50, and then add 5. Okay? Again, this one's tricky when it comes to the angle of depression. So a pilot, here is a plane traveling at a height of 3,000, or 30,000, sorry, feet above level ground. She looks down at an angle of depression of 6 degrees. Okay? Now, a lot of people will assume that 6 degrees goes there. No, you got to think from the perspective of the plane. So if you are in the plane and you look straight ahead, and then you tilt your head down, so then this angle here would be 6 degrees. Okay? And they spot the runway, and we're asked how many miles away is she from the runway. So we are asked to find this. Okay? Knowing that this is 300 feet, and knowing the angle in here would be whatever 90 minus 6 is, 84 degrees. Okay? And again, our job is just to find x. And again, these two are the exact same. Okay, and I want you to tackle these questions on your own. Okay? Awesome. Alright, take care.